exterior of the building. Now, the next building after Trump Towers is going to be a black box structure known as AMA Plaza, formerly known as the IBM building. Now, this building was completed by a German architect back in 1971. His name is Mies van der Rohe. Now, it's completed in his international style of architecture. Now, he believes that there should be no ornamentation on his buildings. His philosophy, less is more. After passing the bridge here, the only ornamentation from the building that we are going to see here is going to be the I-beams. He also believes in forward functionality. Now, at its base is home to the Langham Hotel. The upper floor is the American Medical Association. But if you take your cameras out, in front of us to the right, these are the two most photographed buildings here in the city of Chicago. This is Marina City, or known by its nickname, the Corn Cobs of the Midwest. Now, these were created by a student from Mies van der Rohe. His name, Bertram Goldberg. Now, he did not agree with that less is more philosophy. He believes since there are no right angles in nature, there should be none in architecture. Once we pass the bridge here, we are going to see that we are not going to find any right angles in the two buildings here. Now, when Bertram Goldberg was going to construct the buildings, Mies van der Rohe called him. He asked, "Are you seriously going to put these two buildings on the next line?" He replied, "Yes." And this is the last never spoke to each other. When you walk into your apartment, here is the cheerleading arrow. Why just walk about the apartment? You see like this fire pizza. These floors next to such a skeleton of a flower. When the buildings first opened, they were thought to be sweeping in the city. Having some ice skating, bowling alley, movie theater, grocery store, even a flat marina was taken here. It took us Now, we do dye the Chicago River green on St. Patrick's Day using 40 pounds of vegetable dye. It turns over a bright Kelly green. The color of that dye happens to be orange. Green glass building option to our right is the American Bar Association. Now, this green glass pays homage to the color of the Chicago River. Now, I also do want to let you all know that you are joining us alongside a tradition here in the city of Chicago. Because Wandella, we have been giving boat rides since 1935. And surprisingly, myself and the crew have all been here since 1935. This route has kept us young. You will not be aging for the next 75 minutes. Red brick building offered to the right, very common to see back in 1935 when I first started giving tours. This is the Reed Murdoch Center, completed by George Nimitz back in 1914. Sheathed in that red brick at the top, you'll find some terracotta ornamentations of wheat. Now, if you look at this building completely, it does look asymmetrical. This is because they have to knock out one of the west side bays here to make room for the South Street Bridge expansion. The building was originally home to a warehouse. It's now home to two restaurants, condominium office space, Whirlpool, and Encyclopedia Britannica. If there are any engineers on board, this next building after the bridge here is an engineering masterpiece. This building here is 300 North LaSalle, completed by McCarty Shilton back in 2009. This is a LEED certified building. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. This building here has a platinum rating, highest award that the building can achieve. Basically like winning an Academy Award for a building. Now, it also has a green roof, which mitigates rainfall, has plants, trees, and vegetations. Chicago has more green buildings than any other city in the United States. But the coolest fact about that building is that the building has 0 cooling towers. The building uses river water to cool it. You cannot miss this next structure after the bridge here. This is our merchandise mart, completed back in 1931 by Graham Anderson, Probst & White. The building is completed in the Art Deco style of architecture. Art Deco buildings typically have the geometrical ornamentations, vertical lines bring your eyes up, and setbacks at the top. This was the largest concrete structure in the world when it opened. Today it's only second to that building. The Pentagon is correct, so you're good at using information. Sits on 5 city blocks. It is 4.25 million square feet of space. Up until the year 1996, this building had its own zip code. Now, it was originally used to consolidate 14 of Marshall Field's warehouses. It is now close to over 500 showrooms for accessory inventory and furniture wholesale. The heads of the base of the building that look like giant peasant sculptures from famous merchants, Robert Wood, Montgomery Ward. Now, that building, it did sell to the Kennedy family back in 1945 for about $13 million in back taxes. In the year 1998, the Kennedy family sold that building for $575 million. They decided to keep the land off and to our right here. This is known as Wolf Point, and they are developing this land at the moment. They have Wolf Point West already completed. It is 575 feet tall. Wolf Point East is being constructed as we speak. It'll be 750 feet tall. Wolf Point South will be the tallest at 950 feet tall. Now, Wolf Point is also a very historic and important place for Chicagoans, because here is where we have our first drugstore, church, bridge across the Chicago River, and tavern. Now, it is also where we get our name, Chicago. You see the locals, they were in a tavern and they raised a tinker. What are we going to call this place? Well, they came up with the name Chicago based on the words they heard the natives using. Chicagua. They just didn't know that translated into, wow, smelly onions. Now, as we begin to make our turn into the north branch of the Chicago River, I do have to give you all a heads up. This is the only section of the tour today where we're going to be ping-ponging from the left side of the boat to the right side of the boat, so please bear with me. Now, I want to start you off in front of the boat to the left here. This is Residence at River Bend, completed by James DeStefano back in 2001. Now, Mr. DeStefano did something very big in this building here. He put every corridor on the west side of the building. Now, this is because he wanted every apartment and townhome to be built on the east side of the structure. He wanted them all to have an unobstructed view down the main branch of the Chicago River. Now, if we look at the building, and then we look back off into our right or east, we can now see that Wolf Point West is now blocking their view. Now, I would never make fun of anyone's misfortune, but they did try to sue so this building would not be constructed. Well, as you can see today, you do not sue the Kennedy family and win. Now, when the building first opened, parking spots were going for about $40,000. They do not even park their own cars. The ramps are too narrow. They have to drop their keys off to a valet who parks their cars for them. Red brick building off into the left side of the boat is the Fulton House, completed by Frank D. Abbott back in 1908, an old cold storage warehouse for milk, butter, and eggs. It was renovated by Harry Weiss back in the 1980s. He had to allow the building to be thawed for about 18 months. He took out over 500 truckloads of horsehair. It was insulated with cork and horsehair. You may notice the starfish in the porthole windows alongside the building. Harry Weiss, he loved the maritime theme. He loved to sail. Now, this is also evident off into the left side of the boat in these cottages that he also completed. These are the Chicago River cottages, completed by Harry Weiss back in the 1980s. Notice the use of the triangles, the porthole windows, how those units sort of resemble a sailboat. It's home to 2 4-story and 2 6-story units that all come with their own private marinas. And get this, up until last year, they were all owned by their original owners. I believe that the one unit sold for about $2.3 million. Question, are we smelling chocolate? Yes. Now, this is the Blommer's Chocolate Facility a few blocks west of here. Now, that is free smells, 0 calories. Looking off to the right side of the boat, we have an upscale fitness facility known as the East Bank Club, completed by Ezra Gordon and Levitt back in 1979. Now, everything that we are seeing here today would not be here back in 1979. Not the trees, not the ivies, not the seawalls, not even the windows alongside the building. This is because the Chicago River was so dirty, we turned our backs on the Chicago River. No one wanted to live on the Chicago River. Now, famous people who have worked out here: Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Oprah Winfrey, and former President Barack Obama. Looking off to the left side of the boat here, we have a beautiful promenade home to a gorgeous community here in the city of Chicago known as Kinsey Park. Now, Kinsey Park was completed by George Papa George and Hames. It's home to 70 townhomes, all designed to look like European row houses. Now, the most interesting fact about Kinsey Park is that each and every last one of these townhomes sold before ground was even broken. Before they were even completed, they all sold for $1.2 million, just based off of the blueprints 2002. Now, they all come with their own rooftop terrace, balcony, patio, and this beautiful promenade here that we're seeing that does feature a few sculptures. Now, Kinsey Park, it is a gated community, but during the day it's open to the public. You just have to let the gatekeeper know that you're going to be on the property. Now, after the bridge here, we have a red brick building off to the right side of the road here. Now, this is known as the Riverbank Lofts, completed by Nimitz and Fellow back in 1909. Now, this building here is a great example of adaptive reuse. Adaptive reuse is when you take a building that had a previous use and you give it another use. Now, this used to be a printing warehouse. It's now home to soft lofts. Soft lofts are lofts that have an open floor plane. You'll have an enclosed bathroom, some exposed brickwork, ductwork, drywall, vents, things like that. If you happen to have one of those lofts on the first 2 floors, you may have up to 4 fireplaces. Now, the parking garage just north of it was also added onto the building.